With Matt Groves. I'm Matt Groves. This is the 52nd time I've done this. And today we're going to do some Linq. We're going to focus specifically on Linq to Couchbase. And we're going to go through the readme in the repo. It's a GitHub repo. Because we did this as an exercise internally recently where we'd go through and just kind of pretend we were going through for the first time. It's tough to do sometimes, but one of the jobs of a developer advocate is to think like a developer, like a first timer coming to something for the first time, and just kind of on their behalf go through the process. And we identified some issues, some out of date stuff, some missing things. From a lot of things, not just this Linq repository. We did a lot of this testing, but this one specifically I'm going to focus on today because it's on GitHub, it's open source, and we're going to learn about GitHub and Git and pull requests and all that kind of stuff in the process. So this will be a great stream, I think. And so if you're ever nervous about contributing to open source, that's intimidating thing sometimes to come into a project you've been using for a while or you admire and say, hey, I think I can help. It's intimidating. It's tough to do. But let me tell you right now, most open source people running projects, unless they're already hugely popular, they are going to love any contributions you provide. It's great feedback. It's great help. It shows someone's out there using what you've built. And anyway, I digress. We're gonna get into some nuts and bolts of that today. All right. And my attitude about streaming is that I'm here to communicate with you, to talk with you. And so this is kind of the motto. Ask whatever question you want to in the chat, and whether it's related to what's going on. Why am I getting a calendar notification? Thought I'd turn those off. Hopefully it's something tech related, but anything you want to ask, the only stupid question is when you don't ask. So this is a safe place to ask questions, is what I'm saying. All right, let's do some plugs here. Team Live Coders. This is the Twitch team that I'm a member of, and there's 112 of us right now. And you can see Lana Lux is really got some big numbers today. We got some other names. We got a lot of people streaming right now. My goodness, a lot of people. But anyway, if you're looking for live coding, live streaming, this is a great place to start. Go to twitch.tv/team/livecoders. You're going to find a lot of people here who are streaming different topics, different time zones, and a great place to start. And another good place to start, if you want to expand out a little more, is the Awesome Developers Stream repo on GitHub. Has been updated in a couple months, which is fine. It doesn't need to update all the time because this is just a list of people who are streaming, a link to where they're streaming, and you can find the different topics they're streaming about. And so you can find something here for you. If you're just getting into live streaming, this might be a good place to start as well. Okay, a little bit of news. So you can still go to bit.ly/GrowsTube to find videos. One thing I may be changing here soon, and some things you have to line up for this to happen, is that these videos may be moving to my employer's Couchbase channel instead of to my own personal YouTube channel. So they've expressed interest in that. I may also start simulcasting live to my employer's YouTube stream. It'll still be based here on Twitch, but it'll also be going out to YouTube Live. I got to figure that. I did this for a while last year or the year before, where I was streaming to Twitch and YouTube and Periscope, all those things at the same time. Much shorter live streams, but they weren't going out to the official channel. So that may be happening here in the future. But for now, you can see all the old episodes here on bit.ly/GrovesTube. Leave your questions, your comments there. Happy to answer those, talk about those. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that good stuff. I appreciate that. TwitchBot is still off, having some problems with it, and it might be related to the issue we ran into on Tuesday, which I'm still stuck on. I actually posted a Stack Overflow question about the error message we were getting on Tuesday this morning. Haven't got any responses yet. It's a tough one. I'm really quite stuck on it. I tried going through the process again of just creating a whole new project from scratch, and that seemed to work okay. So I couldn't really identify anything that I was doing majorly different. I tried updating all the different dependencies, which shouldn't have been the issue, but I tried it anyway. I've tried different base images. I've tried all kinds of crazy stuff, and nothing seems to work. Nothing is making that error message budge. So I don't know what's going on there, but to be determined. So right now the TwitchBot is off. Sorry about that. Upcoming events. I've been plugging these every episode, so this will be the last time I plug this one. SQL Saturday, Cleveland. SQL Saturday, Cleveland. Coming up on this Saturday. That's 2 days from now, right? Today is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yep. So I'll be speaking at this. This is my first SQL Saturday conference. So if you're in the Cleveland area or close by, check it out. It's great. It looks like a great event. Never been to one before, but I'll be speaking here. We're checking out the whole SQL Saturday thing, seeing if they're going to be angry at a NoSQL guy for being there or what. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm really curious to see how my presentations go over with this kind of audience. So curious to get their feedback. So these are all SQL Server, well, mostly, from what I can tell, SQL Server professionals. So I'm going to be coming in saying, oh, there's other databases. So we'll see how this goes. It'll be interesting. So check that out. Developers Week is coming up as well. I think it's Developer Week. Sorry, let me change that. Developer Week. This will be in the Bay Area, February 12th through 16th. I will be there on the 13th and 14th at the Couchbase booth. I will be also presenting a short session. I might be able to find myself on this list, actually. Let's see. There I am. Matthew D. Groves. Yes, Matthew D. Groves. I'll be having a short session on that I'm calling NoSQL is Breathing New Life into SQL. And this is, a really, really short version of what I'll be doing at SQL Saturday, kind of, talking about SQL as a language and how it's a really good language for querying data, no matter if it's NoSQL or SQL, which, NoSQL is an unfortunate term, but SQL is a language that's here to stay. So I'll be talking about that, and my name is Matthew D. Groves. Probably need to, email somebody about that. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully they didn't print anything up with Matthew D. Groves on it. And next thing is Dev Nexus. This is coming up in Atlanta, and this is a great conference, kind of Java-oriented, but I believe tickets are almost either sold out or they're kind of cut off tickets sales here very soon. So if you're interested in this, it's in Atlanta, Georgia. If you're near to that, or it's a short flight away, this is a great big conference, community-run conference, mostly Java, but not exclusively Java. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, definitely check it out. Excuse me. I won't be speaking here, as far as I know, but I will be at the Couchbase booth here answering questions, interacting with developers, and listening and trying to learn. And so definitely check that out. That's a fun one. I've been there before. So I'll take off SQL Saturday. And then after that, I'll start promoting Orlando Code Camp as the one after that. So this list is going to keep building. One of these, somewhere in here, is the Microsoft Ignite the Tour Chicago. I'll put that on the list somewhere. I'm going to be at that event as well. Also not speaking, but at the Couchbase booth. Okay. What else? Okay. Let's get on to today's business. So there is a repository here called Linq to Couchbase, and this is a link provider for Couchbase. If you're not familiar with Linq, it stands for Language Integrated Query. This has been a part of C# and .NET for a long time. And if you've used Linq in the past, you've most likely used it with a database, like Entity Framework has a link provider, and Hibernate has a link provider, things like that. But it is not, strictly speaking, something that's just for databases. It's a language, it's a set of extension methods that you can use on IEnumerable, on iQueryable, on a number of different interfaces in iCollection. They might all come from iCollection or something like that. But a number of different interfaces available in the .NET language. Now, this one is a link provider for Couchbase. So Couchbase is a NoSQL database, but of course Couchbase, as I was just saying, has a SQL query language to query JSON data. And so the idea here with Linq is that we'll take a Linq expression like you see here. Let me just blow that up a little bit. This is a simple one, but like you see here, and just like Linq does for SQL Server or MySQL, it's going to translate this Linq statement into a SQL query, or in Couchbase's case, a nickel query, which is a SQL dialect. And so in your C# code, you write a code like this, and behind the scenes it gets translated into SQL and then executed and then returns the results. So that's kind of the idea. Linq is not something you have to use with Couchbase, but it is something that a lot of developers, .NET developers, like to use with databases. Hey, Bhaskar, what's going on? Thanks for stopping in, saying hi today. You have got a link for me. This might be related to the problem on Tuesday. Uh-oh, we got a mismatch in ASP.NET Core 3 runtime version in Docker. Very interesting. So this is back in October. Cache issues. Yeah, I thought I tried to deal with those, but I will definitely take a look at this, Bhaskar. Thank you very much. I mean, this looks like it definitely could be related to what was going on. So I will definitely take a look at this. Appreciate it, and maybe I'll attack it afresh. Thank you very much, Bhaskar. We're going to put that issue on the back burner for today and look into Linq to Couchbase. So, as an exercise, what we've done recently, this is something internal. This is not a video I can share with you or anything, but we did make a video of a couple of us going through a sort of a getting started use case where a new user, new to Couchbase, a new developer would want to go in and connect to Couchbase, get the Couchbase up and running, put some data in Couchbase, and then query it back out using a secondary index. And those are sort of the three happy points. And so we've gone through some of the documentation that's out there. We've gone through Google and just try to go through a path that we think a new developer might take, right? Because everyone who writes docs or who works for a software company would like to think everyone starts at the home page and follows every step sequentially. That's definitely not the case. A lot of people start at Google and they'll say, okay, how do I connect to Couchbase and .NET, and how do I get started with Couchbase, that sort of thing, and go from there. So we came up with a couple different scenarios, and this is still an ongoing effort. This is not something we're done with by any means. But one of the things that I can do today on the stream is just go through the process of looking at this README file, following it step by step, and figuring out what needs to be updated. So we're going to start by cloning this repo. Actually, probably want to fork this repo. Yeah, I've already forked it. Interesting. So I probably want to update this. Update this repo. But I think I actually don't have this locally. I don't think I have Linq to Couchbase here, so it'd be a whole thing I have to go through. So what I could do is I could just go ahead and delete my fork of it. Delete this repository. Yep. mgroves, not the main one, just my fork of it. I don't think I have permission to delete the main one, thank goodness. Okay, and then we'll go back here to Linq to Couchbase. Oh, where is it? Linq to Couchbase. Oh, it's under Couchbase Labs, sorry. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and do a fork of this guy here into my mgroves account. That's going to take a second. So if you're not familiar with Git or GitHub, a fork is basically saying, give me a copy of the repo as it is right now, of the source code as it is right now, and then I can start making changes to my copy. And so you can think of it as, okay, the code is going along a path, and then it forks off into two different versions. And so this is the main version over here, and this is my version. Now, my goal is not to have my own version of Linq to Couchbase, but to make changes over here and submit them. It says changes back to the main repo and say, hey, I think you should consider making these changes. So that submitting it back to the main repo, that's called a pull request. I'm saying I request that you pull the changes that I've made. All right. So I've done my own repo here. I will clone this. And so I'll clone this into my favorite zproj folder with my tortoise Git. This is my Git tool of choice. It's just something I've gotten used to. Some people don't like this. Gives them bad memories of tortoise SVN. Calvin's always talking about Git Kraken as a good alternative. Some people just like the pure command line. For whatever reason, I'm pretty happy most of the time with tortoise Git. So this is what I stick with. And I'll drop into the command line every once in a while. I tried Git Kraken. It seemed like very cool, but it didn't quite fit how I was generally working with Git. which is to say, mostly I work on solo projects and, small PRs like this. So maybe Git is a lot better suited for a team working together on the same code base, in a high volume. So I don't know. I'm just speculating. Anyway, here it is, Linq to Couchbase. So I'm going to open up Visual Studio Code. And we're going to open that folder. And I'm doing this in Visual Studio Code because this is where I do a lot of my writing, my documentation, editing, and writing, and so on, is in Visual Studio Code, not in Visual Studio, because this is a much more lightweight tool, has some great plugins for rendering content. I believe we're using Markdown in this case. Yep. So you can see automatically popped up a preview of the Markdown that I am editing. So I'm going to just sort of move that over to the side here. This is a plugin called Instant Markdown. So just sort of keep that preview over there. So you can see when I make changes, they automatically show up over there in my preview. So I'm not going to leave that there, of course. So what I'm going to do also is we're going to open up plain old Visual Studio. And we're going to create a new project. You can't see this. Oh, there we go. Create a new project. And I'm going to just make this a console application in .NET Core. And we're going to call this, Linq to Couchbase readme try. This is a little console project I'm going to use to kind of follow along with the Getting Started guide over here and just see how it works. Just go through the process. And anything that needs to be updated, we'll update it. Okay, so there's my console app right here. We've got a Visual Studio update, so I'm going to not do that on the stream today. But okay, so there we go. So let's just go through this documentation and check it out and see what it has to say. All right, so here we are. We're on GitHub. The official language integrated query provider for querying Couchbase Server 4.0. So this already is a little outdated. I don't think 4.0 is even supported. It might be end of life now with Couchbase. So I'm going to leave out the version number there. I think that's probably worthwhile. Provided for querying Couchbase Server with Nickel using the Couchbase.NET SDK. Fine. The goal of Linq to Couchbase is to create a lightweight ORM/ODM. I don't know if I define it as ORM. ODM, I think that's fair enough, but ORM is a tool a lot of people are familiar with, so I think leave that in for beginners. For querying Couchbase buckets using Linq as the lingua franca between your application and Couchbase Server, again with the 4.0 reference. Using Nickel, a SQL-like query language for JSON documents. There's a link to Nickel up here. Let's see if this link is up to date. Yeah, this is back on 4.0. I think it should probably be switched to, oh, there isn't. That link doesn't work for current. Okay, so if we go here, we'll just go to Nickel. Let me just double check. Where was this link going? Okay. Nickel language reference. Where would be a good place to start with Nickel? So there's query, fundamentals, Nickel for query, running queries, Nickel queries and results. I don't know, that might be a good place to start. Because this page right here, it just kind of goes right to the language reference. I don't know that's quite where I want someone who's a first-timer to come to. This seems like a good place. Yeah, so I'm going to change this to current. Okay, and that is where I'm going to put here. The other thing, oh, actually, let's go back to this. So this page right here is where it's linking to right now. This is a 4.0 page. You can see the newer version is available. If I click View Latest, kicked out to the home page. That is something I need to raise with our internal team and say, hey, we've got a broken View Latest here. So I'm going to do that in our Slack channel. I could create a ticket, but I've just talked to the documentation person recently, and she said it's perfectly okay if you just want to throw that in the Slack team. Slack channel, let me know, and I'm going to do that. The documentation team is always super busy, but she definitely wanted to know when we come across these. So there we go. Just notified her about that. So even if this pull request is not accepted, or until it's accepted, Couchbase as a company can address this, that this View Latest button doesn't work, and we can fix that. This is a problem that it used to be a lot worse, and it's getting better and better. It still kind of plagues us, especially if you're dropping into a random documentation page from Google, because if that View Latest doesn't work, well, then you're stuck with docs that are old. You don't quite know how to get to the latest ones. So we're going to hopefully get that addressed. Which is just one of the side effects of going through an exercise like this, is you come across places in the documentation that we can fix and update. Okay, where were we? We haven't even gotten past the first paragraph. And my paste didn't quite work there, did it? What happened there? Oh yeah, it did work, okay. All right, SQL-like language for JSON documents. Also provides a write API for performing CRUD operations on JSON documents. This is true. I believe for the most part it is experimental, but I don't think we're going to even get to that today. While not officially, so that should be an officially supported Couchbase project, this repo is actively maintained and monitored. This is sort of I don't want to say CYA, but it's kind of a CYA because if you're a subscriber to Couchbase support, Linq to Couchbase is not included in that, at least not yet. So the idea here is to accurately represent and say, hey, this is a library that you can use and it's beneficial, but support team is not going to really be able to guarantee you any sort of help when using this library. If you happen to find a bug or have any questions, please either create an issue. So this is a link to the GitHub issues page, or make a post on forums.couchbase.com. That is an incorrect link. Oh, it's a broken link. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to fix that. And I also want to link directly to .NET forum. Well, I don't need a /6 in there, I don't think, because that is where I want these posts to go. So let's fix this link right here. Okay, all right. This markdown thing doesn't quite update fast enough sometimes. Okay, forums.couchbase.com. Additionally, we actively accept contributions, of course. Pull requests welcome, right? All right, getting started. The Linq to Couchbase project has the following dependencies. Couchbase Server 4.0 or greater. So in this case, that is accurate, that you need 4.0 or greater, because this requires nickel. So if someone came to this project with Couchbase Server 3, it's not going to work because there is no nickel in that. So I think in this case, I want to make sure that is the case. Couchbase to SDK 2.3.10 or greater, fine. Common logging, all makes sense. JSON.net, find out over later. Does that link work? JSON.net? Oh, also not a good, okay, so that's generating that automatically. So I think what they mean by this is Newtonsoft JSON. So I think we're going to change that so it's more accurate. Relink 2.1.1. I mean, these are kind of things that are internal, but it's fine. If you're using NuGet, then the dependencies other than Couchbase Server will be installed for you via the package manager. Yeah, and I'll capitalize the S on that one. Okay. Installing Couchbase Server. For a single instance of Couchbase Server, capital S. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Running on localhost, you can download one here. So this is kind of an older link, but it still should work. Let's go ahead and update that link. And I also don't like just having here as a link. That's, it's kind of a minor thing, but if you're thinking about screen readers, people using screen readers, a link is going to be read to you as the word here. Not terribly useful. So we can I'm going to change this to download Couchbase Server here, because that in isolation is a more interesting, more useful piece of text, right? So I don't know if you've ever used screen readers. This is maybe a minor tangent, but people with screen readers, I don't know if this is outdated or not, but the last time I really worked with screen readers, what a person using a screen reader would do, they don't actually have the whole wall of text read to them. They can skip from link to link to link, sort of in a way that a sighted person might, sort of skim down the page and find the links. And a link that says here, what they would hear in their ears would be here, 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 here. Not terribly useful. So that's just a minor thing, but okay. Make sure it's 4.0 or later. If you would like to create a cluster, the easiest way is by using the Vagrant scripts for provisioning clusters. Can be found here. So again, this is just kind of awkwardly worded. Vagrant scripts, provisioning clusters. The easiest way is by using the Vagrant scripts. I don't know if that's necessarily true. That's kind of an opinion, I guess, but it's a good place to go if you want to use Vagrant. Additionally, Docker scripts can be found here. What is this? Where does this link go to? Yeah, this is fine. If you like to create a cluster, okay. So again, it's that here. You can use Docker. You can use Docker scripts. Following the directions for each respective, so it should be follow the directions on each respective link for installation information. Okay, installing a package using NuGet. Once you have a Couchbase server, I'm going to take 4 out here, instance or cluster set up, open Visual Studio 13 or greater or mono-develop. Okay, so Visual Studio 13 or greater, that's pretty old at this point. What is the Visual Studio support timelines? Just kind of want to see, like, is 13 even in support anymore? Visual Studio support. Like Visual Studio end of life kind of information. Here we go. Visual Studio. Oh, look at this. Visual Studio 2013 is extended all the way through April 2024. So that's probably fine. As long as you're on update 5. All right. So Visual Studio 13 or greater, or mono develop. Why is mono develop even being mentioned? And why mono develop and not Writer, Visual Studio Code, etc., etc. The latest mono develop release. There's a source code. Let's see. Is this still actively developed? Looks like it's fairly recent. People are still working on this. So, I mean, this might just be, to say, oh, if you're a Mac user, you can use mono develop. And this also suggests that you create an MVC web application. I don't know, this just seems like a lot. I mean, you don't even have to use an MVC application, right? You could use a console app. I'll just say .NET or .NET Core application. That seems reasonable enough. Open the NuGet package manager and search for Couchbase Linq. So that's fine, I guess. Why not just search for Linq to Couchbase? I mean, that seems just as likely. But that's fine. Okay. Or type the following in the package manager console. Yeah, that's fine. And again, with .NET Core, you'd probably be .NET add package Linq to Couchbase. But that's fine. NuGet will install the package and all dependencies. Once you have resolved the dependencies, you will initialize a cluster helper object. So we put that in code quotes here, which will manage the bucket resources needed by the Linq provider. Quick start. Okay, so now we're at quick start. Query the travel sample bucket, return 10.9. So we haven't even mentioned travel sample up until this point. This quick start assumes that you have already installed the travel sample bucket, which comes with Couchbase server, which is available and built into Couchbase server, and I probably want to link to that. So if people are not familiar with that, how do I install the travel sample? Let's see if there's a good link for that. Sample data. No, I don't think that's quite right. Sample, travel sample. Let's see if there's a place. All right, let me see what it is in. Okay, so I'll just kind of show you. I'll show myself where that is. Maybe that'll help me to find a link in the documentation. So I'm starting up 6.5 because I know where it is in the actual Couchbase UI. So it's under settings and then sample buckets. Maybe sample buckets is what I'm looking for. Sample buckets. Aha! Installing sample buckets. I think that's perfect. Okay. And again, I'm going to make this a current. I'm not going to tie it to 6.5. Okay. And we'll just make this a link. Already installed the travel sample bucket. And there we go. So if someone's familiar with how to do that already, they might be. But if they're not, well, here's a link to show you how to do that, which I don't need to go through and explain that here in this README because it's already been explained in the Couchbase documentation. Query the travel sample bucket and return 10 airlines in any order. Okay. Let's run this code. I can do this. So I'm going to paste this right in here. Now I have not already installed, I should probably do that first because that's what the instructions said, installed via NuGet. And it was just search for Couchbase Linq, is what the documentation said. There we go, link to Couchbase, 1.4.2, that's the latest version. Okay, yeah. So it's interesting, it kind of outlines some of those dependencies, but not nearly all of them. There we go. Okay, and now I'll paste this code in here. Okay, and ReSharper is going to give me some help to figure out the what's it called, namespaces. Okay, so airline doesn't exist, right? I happen to know that it's in this full code available here. So I want to make note of that. Full code example. What is this? Oh, it's just a gist. Oh, it's got a little, okay. Including airline class definition. Just want to make that clear. Once they paste that code, they'll be like, oh, I don't have an airline. Where do I get airline at? And they read down a little farther, they'll see that's where you get airline. Okay, full code example including airline. So if I go over here and I can copy airline into my little project, put it right there, and Newton, yep, okay, there we go. And it doesn't really say what it's supposed to do. So I think I want to, and this is using, see, that's the other weird thing. This is using console, but up there it says ASP.NET, or it did say ASP.NET. So yeah, it's kind of but that was of course not in the quick start. Okay, all right. So upon running this query, you should expect console output similar to whatever, and then I'll put in blah 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 right there. Just make sure that looks okay, because I don't, yeah, that looks fine. I don't write a lot in Markdown. I usually write in ASCII doc, which is like a superset of Markdown. So I'm not sure which one is which sometimes, but that seems to work. Okay, and so let's run the application. Make sure this is localhost, and I've got a bucket called travel sample. I do have that one. Yep. So we'll run it, and I know what's going to happen next, but I'm just going to run it for completeness of the stream. Error message. Why am I getting an error message? Authentication failed for bucket travel sample. Because this is an older code sample. It does not include any authentication. So I need to put in that. Now it should work. And there we go. So I'm going to copy this and paste it right into here. Although I don't necessarily need to keep all of this. But I do need to update this code snippet to include password authenticator. Okay, how's that look? I don't need that extra space there. That should be fine. Okay. Yep, new password. Okay, this is good. So far, so good. All right, full code example, including airline class definition. Great. And we've got all these links to the developer guide. Maybe I'll just go and check, make sure these work. Building from source. See, this is a great place for this kind of thing, building from source towards the bottom, like after the quick start, after you've shown developers how to be productive. Okay, now if you're going to actually build this for contributing or tweaking purposes, here's how you can do it. Simply clone the GitHub repository and build in Visual Studio. NuGet package manager should download required dependencies. Fine. Project management. The JIRA project issue is here. So that gives kind of a confusing message because we have GitHub issues and we have JIRA. But let's leave it there for now. That's a whole other issue. And JIRA, I believe, I'm just going to reword to say in the, I think JIRA is all capital letters, in the JIRA project for link to Couchbase. Let's make sure that link actually works. Oh, I don't necessarily want to show that outside incognito. All right. Yep, there we go. There's the Linq project. In the JIRA project for Couchbase, you can file bugs, propose features, or get an idea of the roadmap there. List of supported and proposed nickel features can be found here. What is this? This is just a Google Doc of what's supported and what's not supported in Linq to Couchbase, okay? There is also a list of supported and proposed nickel features. This is not for nickel, for Linq to Couchbase. Okay, contributors, Linq to Couchbase, an open source project. Community contributions are welcome, whether they be pull requests, feedback, or filing bug tickets or feature requests. We appreciate any contribution, no matter how bug or small. Was that done on purpose? How big or small. If you do decide to contribute, please browse the JIRA project and ensure that the feature issue hasn't already been documented. If you want to work on a feature, bug, or whatever, please create or select a ticket and set the status to in progress. Okay, so I'm kind of not doing that. I do want to see, what is the correct casing of JIRA? Because usually I see it in like all caps. But it looks like that's not the case from Atlassian. So maybe I'll just leave this as JIRA. Capital J. All right, that's fine. All right, so I think we're good there. We've got some good updates. I also want to check to make sure these links all work. I'll see why they wouldn't. I'm not going to go through all the content on these links. That's maybe a whole other thing. Whoa. Oh, these are, okay. These are links. These are like local links. All right. Let's go see how they work on, just want to make sure that none of them are broken on the actual GitHub site. I think that those would probably both work, right? Because they're all linked to docs. So showing a file is just showing the my instant markdown break. Anyway, let's go through here and make sure these links all work. The bucket context, mapping JSON to POCO. Controlling output with select. Filtering with where. Sorting and paging. String handling. Math functions. Date handling. Array. Grouping and aggregation. Use keys. Query hints. Joining documents. Nesting documents. Unnesting documents. Any and all. Testing for null and missing. The meta keyword. That's an important one. Working with enumerations. Asynchronous queries. Result streaming. Serialization converters. Oh, not working. Docs. Serialization converters. Why isn't that working? Now my preview thing stopped working. Serialization converters. Master doc. Oh, whoa, huh? Aha. Should be docs. Custom JSON serializers. Read your own write. And change tracking. Okay. So that's actually good. We went through those links. I didn't think I was going to find anything. We found one little problem. That was a little typo. So now, before I commit this, let's go through and look to see my diff and see what the difference is here. View the changes. Okay, so a lot of this is wording. I changed this. Changed some casing. Yep, probably the biggest change was this code sample in the quick start. Developer guide, fix that link. That's good. JIRA project links. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this. So I'm going to say this is kind of a collection of different things. So readme. I mean, the main thing is updated readme with RBAC in code in quick start, plus miscellaneous, I don't know, editing, is that the right word? Editing, Linq fixes, etc. This seems reasonable. Okay, and now I'll use my tortoise to push that. And this will be pushed to my repo. This is the mgroves version of it. You can see off the screen there. Okay, so then if I go back to, again, the mgroves linked to Couchbase, you can see this branch is now one commit ahead. So that's that one commit I just made. Let's make a pull request. And you can see it's going to show me the diff again of all the different changes that I made. And I'm going to create a pull request. I didn't like my, etc. All right. The main update here is that I added password authenticator to the quick start example. I also updated some of the text to be more accurate. Well, I updated some of the text for grammar, spelling, accuracy, and I updated some links and link text. Some links slash broken links and broken links and link text. So hopefully that's enough information for Brant or Jeff, whoever is going to look at this pull request, to evaluate this and say, oh yeah, this is a go or no go, to merge it in. And this is just a README thing, so it's not going to break the build. So the stakes are kind of low here, unless you're a first-time user, first-time developer. And this is going to hopefully help you. But let's go ahead and create that pull request. And you can see this pull request actually is in the main Couchbase Labs Linked to Couchbase project. So if you look under pull request, you can see mine's the only one right now. If we remove those filters, you can see there's going to be a bunch of others that have already been taken care of in the past, 8 pages of them. But mine's the only active one right now. So when I submit a pull request, the managers of this repository, and we can kind of see who they are if we go to contributors. It's going to be Brant, Jeff. Other people have contributed as well. But I mean, I know Jeff is a Couchbase employee. I know Brant is kind of the one who's done a lot of the work with this linked to Couchbase library over the years. He uses it in production as well. And I know Mike Goldsmith has worked for Couchbase on this. The rest of these people, just community users that have submitted various things over time. But I'd happen to know probably one of these two people are going to be reviewing my pull requests and saying, oh yeah, this is good, or no, this is not good. Fix this and try again. But I think this is a good this is a good way for you to get involved with open source project that you use a lot. Go find the GitHub repo and just go through the quick start, go through the documentation. If something's obviously broken, then you can fix it, like we did here with the serialization converters. This was straight up broken Linq. It's a 404 error. So if someone, Bhaskar, is there a code of collaboration for this project? You're talking about like a code of conduct sort of thing? I don't see one here. I do happen to know that Couchbase has one. SLA for responsive maintainers. No, I don't think there's nothing like an SLA here. At least not that they've said anything about. The only thing they've said is this paragraph right here. This is not an officially supported project, but it is actively maintained and monitored. So there's nothing concrete like, oh, we're going to review this in 24 hours, or you have to sign this waiver. Nothing like that, right? There's a code of conduct for Couchbase for discussion in the forums. We have to use that from time to time, unfortunately. and for code contributions and JIRA tickets, things like that. I don't know where that is, but if we have an issue, which is pretty rare, usually we point people and say, look, this is really unprofessional. Here's the code of conduct. Since this is not an official supported project, it might not be appropriate to link that code of conduct here, but that might be another good suggestion. Bhaskar is, hey, find out if your project, maybe there's lots of discussion, a lot of heated debate in the issues or in the discussion there, and maybe there needs to be a code of conduct that says, hey, this is not appropriate for discussion here, or things like that. And SLA might be another file, might be another piece of the docs that says, hey, this is how we're going to manage contributions. Anyway, so that's a pull request for today. So we're just about at the hour mark right now, and this is all I really had in mind to tackle today, and I think we did really good. We tackled some of the things that I thought we were going to that were important, like this lack of password authenticator here, but we also found a bunch of other stuff that was a problem, including broken links to old stuff, references to Couchbase Server 4.0, which is several. I mean, 4.0 was released before I joined Couchbase. We're talking 4+ years ago. I'm pretty sure it's with maybe a few exceptions, it's no longer generally supported. I think it's end of life. So mentioning 4.0 a lot, I think it's probably a mistake in general. So did some of those edits as well. So, and this was a broken link too, the forums.couchbase link. So, hopefully I didn't stop anybody who really wanted to post an issue, but someone might come to this and say, oh, well, that link's broken. Why would I even bother with this library? So, these are just kind of minor quality things. And there is a concept of, I'm going to recommend this book. This is a book called Don't Make Me Think. This is not a new book. This has been around for a long time. But there's an idea of, in this book, I don't know if we can see any in the preview here. There's a great graphic in this book. See if I can find it somewhere. I highly recommend this book. I mean, not just if you're a designer or you're designing interfaces, but you're designing anything that people are going to work with. README files, documentation, API, things like that. I don't think I'm going to find it. Anyway, there's a concept in this book of, I think it's called user patience or user goodwill. And you think of it as like a health bar in a video game, kind of. And you imagine a user comes to your page with a full health bar. And every little minor thing, like, oh, it's a broken link here. It's not a big deal, but it's a broken link. We're referring to JSON.net, it's turned into a broken link to a website, JSON.net, that's a park domain. And little things like that. And this little snippet of code that doesn't have the authentication, that might be a pretty major thing. But as you go on, that health bar, that user patience, that user goodwill meter drops and drops and drops, and makes it more likely the person's just going to bounce off this page or get frustrated with this project or get frustrated with Couchbase as a whole. And we don't really want that. We want to set up a new user, whoever comes to this page, for success as much as possible. So anyway, it's a great book. Check it out. It's a really short read, but just so much good information in there about designing things for people to use. Anyway, I highly recommend it. All right, so I'm going to call it a day on the stream. Let's see who we can raid. We don't have many people in the room as far as I can tell, but we got some new people in here that I haven't raided before. We've got Ace Gikmo. Hopefully I'm saying it right. That's a pretty cool little portrait deal there. I like that. Instafluff, good old Instafluff. CLW, who was in the channel the other day. Why don't we go CLW? So if you're going over to the raid, if you're a subscriber, hit the Calvin bada bing bada boom emoji. Be nice to Corey, and we'll play some cool Twilio stuff. And I'll see you over there.
Back on that job, I just earned me some points. Let me keep on going here. Our friend Silicon Orchid says, ooh, .NET